why are employees asking for more money and what they might really want? It's the same question as why a customer might think it's too expensive and what are they really asking? So when you think about it from that perspective, if you're, not planning on hiring, if you are planning on hiring, yes, we're going to set you up in advance so that we set the expectations, we have systems in place rather than having to do that backwards. But I really want to talk about the psychology of this. So this employee raise request, inflation, all of these things have been coming up, along with the fact that this is just a common thing that happens in leadership and management. And it's been happening. It's a tale as old as time. But not every request is about being underpaid. Sometimes it's about wanting a sense of the future or growth or security. And the only thing measurable is a raise. So it becomes the proxy for asking for that because they don't know what else to ask or how to ask it. So a lot of us are trying to solve it with raises. Let's think about what are the other things they could possibly be asking. It's sometimes a way to ask, am I valuable? Do you need me? How valuable am I? And when there's no clear path, people look for tangible things, right? One of the things we do here is we try to make the intangible things tangible. So that's what we're doing here. They want to know their future. A lot of times, and think about times in your career where you were at a place where you're just like, okay, I'm just going to keep making the same amount and getting that annual raise, which is 1 to 3% by industry standards. We're going to talk about that in a little more depth, but it might just be that they're like, I know I'm going to need a bigger jump at some point. I just have no idea when or how to get that. And that's really what they're saying, okay? We've set up one-on-ones for a lot of you. You're setting milestones, but if you don't set milestones, even financially of like where they could potentially gain money in the future, then they will. So what are they really asking? The best leaders use moments like a raise request to coach, not compensate. Okay, so always putting your coach hat on. A lot of you are at that point now, and same with it. If someone comes in and they're objecting to your price, but they that there's value there and they need it, well, use this to coach them into the value. Maybe they want certainty. Like I said, there's no clear trajectory other than let's use in this example, as a lot of you guys on here, I'm going to say staff PT or whatever that staff version of operations. The raise is the only one they can name. The only other one that they might say is like clinic director or manager. The only reason they do that is because it's the only things that they know about. They have no idea that they could provide value by becoming a marketing expert and maybe reduce their clinic hours and things like that. They just have no idea. And that's where these conversations come into play. And as a small business, you guys have the ability to make this flexible and look at different options, which many of us have talked about one-on-one, but let's think even more about the different ways that we have this conversation. So people will ask for what they see. If they don't see a path forward, again, it comes back to money. B, they want to know if they're valued. Now, a lot of us have put some stuff in place to help with that, but it doesn't mean that they're not going to look at it from a personal perspective. Again, that raise becomes how they get value. C, they want a roadmap. They just don't know. They don't know how long they're going to be stuck in this financial. Maybe they're stressed. Maybe they are stuck financially. Maybe it is truly that they can't afford to live. But it's not that they feel like they need it now necessarily. It's just they don't know, am I just going to keep getting a 1 to 3% raise every year for the rest of my life? And if so, that's what makes them question, okay, I'm just going to start arguing for more now, right? Because they're seeing, well, if I do it now, then I'll get more and more each year. Instead, let's figure out, maybe they want that big jump, but they need to know what it takes to get there. So they're asking for money, but they really want, like, what does my future look like here? And even though you're a small business and you may not know the trajectory, this is a conversation and you never have to promise anything. You set a path, but it's contingent on them doing the things that are needed and the business doing well. So as you know, communication clarity is kindness. Unclear growth paths create confusion and resentment. A lot of you have seen and experienced that. Clear ones build trust and momentum. So again, if we're building trust through this communication, the best part, how do we respond to this? Any questions on the psychology of the ask first? No. Okay. I think even if you're kind of like, I'm not sure what that looks like, this how to respond is going to give you some clarity too. So they may not necessarily feel like they're underpaid. Again, they just don't know what is a meaningful increase or when that meaningful increase is coming. So the biggest thing is like, what's driving this? You want to figure out, you can ask it this way, close-ended. They might not know. Is it really about cost of living? Is it inflation driven? Is it about performance? They feel like they deserve more. Is it about growth? They want more responsibility or they want to contribute more. Or are they just stressed? Like in this economy, that can be the thing. And figuring that out and helping them realize that can be really helpful because right now they're just blaming you because it's the only thing they can do, because it's the only way that they get money. So it's the easiest way for them to kind of get their anger out. It's a human nature. Some questions to ask when they bring this to you. Have these in your back pocket. Let's talk about, at some point too, we should talk about in your one-on-ones, you should have, or in your annual reviews, this is going to come up. That's just part of it. But having expectations on this as part of as you grow and setting expectations, you'll have this so that you know when can they ask and talk about this? When should they bring this up? Some questions. Can you walk me through what led you to bring this up now? What else would this raise represent to you beyond the money? So again, these questions, I can send you guys the slides if you want them. These are good questions. What would make you feel more supported or value in your role right now? These questions are going to get them talking and figuring out what's really underlying that. As you know, the surface level is not usually the thing. You guys know that by now. So just get context before feeling like you need to make a decision. Then create the path forward based on what they say. They may still also want money because everybody kind of does that, but you want to make sure that you're able to, we've talked a lot about having them come to you with, okay, well, here's what I can do. But they might need some help with that, or they might need some ideas because they don't see the full business perspective. Understanding where they want to go. Many of you have seen my PIP stuff. We've worked on performance improvement plans. Yes, that is designed for, at the time, maybe somebody who's having a low performance, but that same strategy can be used for someone who's a high performer. They still have growth potential. They still have things to work on, and that you can use that same template. It's just a different entry point. And a way to think about that is a lot of people will be like, well, okay, pay me to do this. I want to do this in the next 6 to 12 months. Well, if I'm going to start doing this, like, pay me now. Think about the fact that you did not pay for their degree that got them the job. You hired them because they had that experience or that degree. And in the same case, now it's, okay, well, if you gain these things, if you're truly passionate about growing your career and you're going to go and do these things, and you can outline, what does that look like? Maybe it's certifications, maybe it's knowledge in a certain area, maybe it's marketing expertise. If you're going to go and do that, then I'll pay you for that. So ask them what kind of growth they're looking for. And again, this might be a more coaching conversation. They don't know the options. You're going to have to put some stuff out there and say, I don't know if I have capacity for this, but here's what you can be thinking about. What are they looking for personally with this change? This is a big one because a lot of them might be burnt out of doing their job and they want to do stuff outside of seeing patients or whatever that may be. Okay, well, you need to figure out how you can also contribute to the business. I can't just like pay you because you're working hard, right? That's a big complaint. It's like, well, I'm working hard. Okay, well, everybody's working hard. Maybe instead, can you do it more efficiently? Can you get more stuff done in less time? Now you're talking about adding value to my clinic or adding value to my business. So ask them to think about, what do you want next in your career? What do I want next in my career? Instead of, what do I want my employer to give me? Then you're going to kind of talk about, okay, so based on what we've talked about, here's what it could look like. This could be your next opportunity. It's not right now. Here are the skills you need to get that. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. In some cases, it's pretty easy, right? It's the same as in clinical terms, you send them to go get certain CEUs to treat pelvic. Well, if you want to treat pelvic, you have to go get pelvic certified. And yes, maybe you pay for that. In this case, there might be smaller stuff that can be part of their professional development, or they can go seek it out, or they can learn without a course that costs money. But still, these are the skills you need to do this. We wouldn't just put someone in front of someone with no pelvic floor education. This is the same. Make it translatable to terms they understand. I can't just say, yes, you're taking over the social media and paying you more. I don't know that you're going to get me results and you don't know what you're doing. I need you to go learn how this is going to impact the business. When you come to me and can show me and create a plan, now I'll pay you for that. Does that make sense? Is that helpful to think about, and think about, here are the skills you need to get there? And it just gives them that trajectory. Then, of course, put it in writing. It doesn't have to promise anything. It's going to say, hey, this is what we're doing. And in this case, we'll revisit the conversation about this, which will include possibly a raise, contingent on business, right? Just put that plan in writing. Hence where take the PIP format, which I'm going to develop for you guys too, one that just doesn't say performance improvement plan, but it's the same thing. It's just a clear 30, 60, 90. It can be 60, 90, 120 days. It doesn't matter. But you're going to kind of work that in a basic plan for their growth.
Lauren, can I interrupt you for a second?
Please do.
What about if you have an employee who has I think everyone on this call right now is a PT, but PT is kind of an interesting career where there's not a whole lot of upward growth unless you decide to open a business. And what do you do for people who express that they want something more, but for example, a manager position, but they've demonstrated zero interest otherwise or zero skills otherwise to do that? I suppose that's what you're getting at, but it doesn't have to be, growth can look different than that. It doesn't have to be that you're all of a sudden just in charge of people.
It's both. So that's a good question. Is that's kind of why I brought it up. A lot of them just think, well, I want to be a manager because they think that's the only way. So there's two answers. There's one, dig deeper. Do they really want to manage people? What interests them about that? Is it because they're a control freak and they just want to be in control, right? Try to figure that out and then go, okay, here are the skills I need to see on a regular basis. It doesn't necessarily, you guys know, if you're in leadership now and you're managing people, sure, you learned on the fly, but man, imagine if you learned some of this stuff before. So kind of being okay, what I need you to do is really, I want you to look into leadership. I want you to read this book. I want you to start doing this. What are some small things they're going to have to do? Like having a difficult conversation. Hey, I want you to start having this conversation when you see this go wrong. Give them tasks that show leadership, and kind of the leadership skills matrix is in there too. I don't know if you've watched that one, Dina, because you haven't had people. But it's basically, here are the skills. You figure out the skills you want them to have as a leader, and then you have to see that they're doing that. So in that case, it's about how are they going to be as a manager? What do they want to be a manager for? A lot of the times it is just money, in which case it's do you actually want this? This is what it looks like. Actually, Gabby just laid out, and this is a good example. She took Jaxie's clinic director job description and her current clinic director's what she's doing, which is far less, because she was asking for more money. Hopefully she's okay if I share this. And we decided, show her Jaxie's and say, you're telling me you want more money, but that means you have to do all of these things. Do these things sound like what you want to do? Okay. These are the things you need to learn. So if you want to make this, you have to do this first. So in some cases, it's figuring out, do they really want management? But the other piece is, this is the beauty of a small business ownership. In clear old school clinic, yes, that's the only trajectory upwards. But for you guys, think about a value add to you that would either give you time back to do more money, business strategy things, like revenue driving things, or just something that would save, anything. So that's why I bring up a lot of the social media or marketing, or, a lot of you can outsource these marketing things. Maybe they can learn about that stuff. Maybe it's more closing sales. Maybe it's more networking, but figuring out, and we'll work together on the specifics, but what do they enjoy? What do they like? What are they interested in? How do they want to grow professionally is a good question. So, what professional skills are you trying to add? They're not going to know, but it's forcing them to go do some research and figure it out. So it's kind of putting it back on them and saying, there's more for you to do. Let's figure out what it is you're actually looking for, and what skills you can grow in. Does that answer?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yep. But it's a good question. It's very common. People just only know about management roles and they think that that's it. But you can really determine what's a value add, what's going to bring in money, or something that they can do to improve value of the business, drive impact. Okay, let's see. So these are, just some questions to ask yourself, right? Is there a ceiling? Have you told them where it is? Also, to Dina's point, something I was going to talk about, let me see if it's on this. I'll talk about it in a second, actually. Let me first we are at a time right now where inflation is a problem. What they don't realize is inflation is also a problem for us as business owners. Your costs are going up too. So they're asking to dig into your own pocket or dig into your profits or dig into investing in the business future by asking for more money for the same job. But with inflation, this is really about you. What is your philosophy on inflation or your philosophy on an employee who's struggling right now? And maybe it truly is they had something happen. They got divorced and now they're suddenly in a different financial situation and they want to keep working for you, but suddenly money's a problem. Is there short-term solutions you can get them more money for? If they're a valuable person and you make, we'll have that conversation if that's the way that it goes. Is right now a good time if you have the money to do a one-time bonus for everybody due to inflation? Just that doesn't commit you to a long-term pay raise. That's like, hey, everybody's going to get a percentage of this or however you do it or one-on-one. If it's truly about that. And again, you do not have to do this. This is about what your business financial health looks like, determining if this makes sense. And if it's truly about that, if it's like, man, like I'm going to lose the person because they truly need more money or, whatever. So determining your philosophy on like how I handle inflation and where your financial health is at. Of course, a lot of you already sometimes do this performance-based incentives. If people are telling you I work hard, so I want more money, this is a good way to say, well, then prove it. If you think your hard work is why you deserve more money, then you should be willing to work for your money. So if there's someone who's in the past pushed that away, again, you can still do I think Dina, you do like a primarily salary, but a slight compensation, right? Like that's a really good model for people to have. Another one is like, okay, are you willing to, maybe they get like a percentage of whatever profitability percentage is, they get a small percentage, and it's more about, are they doing things thinking like the business owner? Are they thinking like, I shouldn't use extra stuff because it costs money, I'm just doing it to, and so that's how you can kind of say performance based or like percentage based, have them invested in the business. Again, always have contingencies with these plans. You are not committing to anything, you're not promising anything, but you're just kind of saying, this is what this looks like. And then in your one-on-ones, you're not just checking on performance. When a lot of you have gotten to places where you're like, my one-on-ones seem obsolete now. Great. That means that you're just keeping them status quo. Now it should be, what are your next areas for improvement? How else can they be helping? And if they're in a place where they don't want to do that, that's also fine. But you have that conversation of like, okay, then this is where we're due. I love that. That's great. Let's keep where we are. And then when they come back and ask for money later, you go, hey, 6 months ago, I asked where you wanted to grow and you said you wanted to stay the same. So I can't really pay you more for doing the exact same job. You want to revisit that conversation about XYZ, about what jobs you can take on. So it's just, again, giving you a place to have a better conversation later. This is the piece I wanted to talk about. So it is on this slide. A lot of you are starting this business and you're, especially at first, you're like, well, man, I don't want someone who's going to just like take all my knowledge and then go like start their own business. They literally cannot do that by just what they do as an employee. You know that they don't have enough information. What that conversation looks like is like, as a leader, and once you've been in it for a while, at some point, if there really is no trajectory, they can't buy in, they can't do profit sharing model, right? Like there are ways to get them in as a part owner if they want to do that without, losing them and they're that valuable. But if you truly care about them and they're just like, I really want to do this on my own, let them shadow you as a leader and show that like, this is someone who's been with you a while. There's really no clear growth or, something like that. And it's, do you really want to see what it looks like? I'll let you peek behind the curtains. You're not going to give them all of your stuff. And there's a lot of learning through experience, but let them see that. Or if there's someone who's like thinking about it, let them see. I promise you, if there's someone who's like, I just don't know what I want, and they come and see and watch all this stuff, you'll keep them. I promise that person will stay with you because they won't want to do it. But, don't be afraid. Someone that's been with you 3, 4, 5 years when you've been in business a while, at some point, if they don't see anything and you're not willing to work with them on like profit sharing or some other way, let them do it. Don't give them all your secrets. Tell them how much you've invested in coaching. But let them shadow and see. And maybe what they'll see is maybe there's a role for them to take on more operations. Maybe there's a role within that they can become sort of like the C-level executive within your business, rather than just like a staff employee. So they might see an area of the business that they're not aware of that they find interesting. And so again, that's how they can make more money by taking stuff off your plate. And then I know, raising prices. Something to think about if you haven't done it in a while. It's, you know, you guys know it's not my model. It's not just raise, raise, raise. But make sure that you are assessing, like, okay, if my employees need to make more, if there's like a gap, you know, things like that. Everybody else is doing it, so I'm not saying go overprice yourself, but make sure that you're assessing like all of the health of your business and that everybody's kind of doing this. And so making sure that you're just keeping up and, you know, doing what you need to do. Again, I don't think this is intent. This needs to happen right now because of inflation. I think the opposite, that with inflation, if you're more worried about sustainability, stay the same, offer those discounts, offer like, you know, options and promos right now, not discounts, promos is what I like to call it. Nobody gets a discount, everyone gets a promotion. That shows you it's one time, it's not permanent, etc. But again, just assessing that, looking at, is it time to drop a really low cost option that I have? Maybe I have like a really low tiered membership option and I bump them up 5 to 10%. You know, they're my like OGs. Or just again, assessing your business, where can I add some more money, or even adding, like Courtney and I discussed, and we're going to talk about this, I think, in our call too tomorrow. But, you know, she ended up adding that like 30-minute cupping and dry needling. And though it doesn't go with the philosophy of everything that you guys do, there's a case for it. There's a need for it, and it's filling, and it's a little bit more profitable per hour. And so things like that, what are the options that are, and you just make that explicitly clear. This is not going to get you completely out of pain. But if there's someone who's like, I know that, but right now I just need the psychological relief of pain right now, and this makes me feel happy, and I'm willing to pay for it. Okay, you're just making that clear. So anyway, so things like that. My quotes, I'm really sad. I had some quotes worked in here that were, there was like a couple others, but I think they didn't work. So then I jokingly put one by yours truly in here to be funny, but now it's a lot less funny because I didn't have as many quotes. But this is the Lauren DiCredico version of everything I just said, very blunt. If you don't give people a vision of what's next, they'll create their own, and it might not include you. So I am who I am. You hired me. I don't know why. Okay.